Hi everybody, this is Noelle at Petitti Garden Centers, and we're here in the perennial department, and we are looking at all the beautiful lupin that Stella has placed in the walkway at Oakwood Village. And there's so many to love. So lupin spotlight today. So let's talk about these because these plants are tricky. I'm not going to say that they're an easy perennial to grow because they're not. I will tell you it's because you really have to mimic their true environment, what they really prefer. And we have to be real careful with lupin because they need cool, moist areas that are slightly acidic and really amended soil, deeply amended. So you've got to keep that in your brain when you're planting these. First, to start off with, lupin really prefer full sun to part shade. Again, the caveat is you want to find full sun conditions, 6 or more hours of sunlight, in a cooler area. So I think I've been saying this a lot, but if you can plant these types of plants in an eastern exposure or a northeast corner, you're going to get that cooler sun aspect and then get evening shade, which will help these plants tremendously, okay? They grow very well in the United States. They are a US native. There's like thousands of varieties in North America, but they really prefer cooler northwest and cooler northeast. So in the Midwest, we're a little bit stuck because we have cool springs, but we have pretty hot summers. So again, cooler the better. So that was sun. Now, they are hardy in certain zones, but it's a very short zone. So lots of times we talk about, some perennials are hardy from zone 3 to zone 10. Well, these guys are hardy from zone 4 to 6. So it's literally like negative 20 degrees to like 0 degrees. So there's a very short window where we can grow them. And here we are in Northeast Ohio. We're right at the bottom edge of that window. So again, cooler the better. Keep that in mind. Soil, I was talking about moist, well-drained, cool, slightly acidic, deeply amended, so making sure that you're really working on that clay soil, making sure you're adding enough organic matter, that you're getting some good amending real deep into the soil, and you'll be ready to go. They really need a well-drained soil. So if it's slightly gritty, that's okay, but it's gotta be acidic. They will not take the basic soils, okay? So watch out for that as well. Fertilizer, we're gonna feed them twice a year. Like most perennials, we're gonna feed them, but unlike most perennials, we're gonna feed them with Hollytone and iron tone. The reason we use Hollytone again is because they prefer that acidic additive to their soil, okay? So you're using Hollytone in this respect, spring, and then again, midsummer, okay? Now, maintenance-wise with these guys, I would always recommend that you use winter mulch to protect them through the growing season. And I said winter, but I meant to say mulch through the growing season because mulch is always going to keep the root system cooler on these plants and around these plants. So that's one reason to mulch during the growing season. Then make sure that you're mulching over winter as well, so you're protecting the root systems. Again, keeping the soil area at kind of an even temperature so they stay cold and they remain cooler. Okay, so that's very important with them. I will have to say, lots of folks are afraid to cut these babies back, but my gosh, they make an awesome cut flower. So make sure that you are deadheading them. So when they are, or using them as a cut flower, when you do cut them, you're just cutting at the base of the stem. And when you do that, what happens is side shoots form. So this is actually staircase red, and the middle stem, the main stem, was already cut. And now now we have 4 different shoots that are budding and blooming coming out. So make sure you're deadheading. It's going to continue to put energy back into that plant so it can continue to flower. I was talking about those cool temperatures earlier, and this has a lot to do with the deadheading part, is that lupin will bloom as long as it's cool. When we get into the heat of the summer, forget it. It's just gonna be, it's gonna basically falter from there. The foliage will stay up for you sometimes, but depending on how much heat it's getting, you might see them die back completely. Okay, so do be aware of that. Let's go through varieties here. Now, lupin are really interesting. They're in the pea family, and I think I've mentioned this about the pea family before, but they're nitrogen fixers. So what they do is they'll take nitrogen out of the atmosphere and they'll put it in the soil. So the plants that are planted around the pea family do great because they're getting more nitrogen at their root system. So just keep that in mind. These guys really deeply root. So make sure again that you have worked your soil well and have amended it deeply so that those root systems really can establish themselves very deeply in the soil. That's very, very important for them. Start out with Russel Hybrids. Now, if you've grown lupin before, and you can get Russel Hybrid seeds, and you can also get plants, and I do have a few back here, the white, this bicolor white and blue, this carmine red, they were the original lupin. So a man named George Russell grew lupin in York, England, and he was well into his 60s and 70s, and he would hand select his favorite colors and would let them naturally cross-pollinate. Bees were pollinating them for him, and he would hand select all these unique, unusual colors. And he was just well known for having all of these gorgeous lupin. The Russel Hybrids from him originally are right around the 4 to 6 foot mark. So they're a taller lupin, and sometimes they require staking, okay? So watch out for those. Those are kind of the original. Then what happened is they kind of, he didn't really take very good records. So he ended up giving some of his lupin varieties to a different grower. They tried to keep on growing them, and they were lost there for a while. So now, fast forward, we have this wonderful new variety, if you will, that is called Westcountry lupins, and they are from England. They did take some of George Russell's hybrids and really use them to create these beautiful new varieties. Now I'm going to tell you the Westcountry varieties, they're all different colors, all different names, and I'll kind of go through them with you. But they were bred and specifically selected because of their very unique color, their very, very strong stems, so you don't have to stake the Westcountries. Also, they are right in between like 2.5 to 3 foot tall, and they stay there. And they all bloom between late April and early June. So really, really interesting group of lupin, and I'll show you here quite a few different varieties. I have Beefeater right in front of me, this beautiful kind of red with orange. I have Salmon Star. This is a newer one, and we can also pick out the Westcountry varieties because their foliage is super compact, really, really dense and tight around the base of the flower, and then the flower stalks come up really well, really strong too. Persian Slipper is this beautiful periwinkle blue and white and purple. I have Masterpiece here. Masterpiece is really, really subtle, but it's like a burgundy wine color with a little bit of orange, peachy orange in it. I have Manhattan Lights. This is really showy, obviously, that yellow and burgundy purple color. And Red Rum. I was going to show this one too. So this is a really pretty red, kind of a softer red, if you will, with a little bit of white. Now, all of these are fragrant. They have anywhere from a peppery smell to like a sweeter clovey smell to me. So they're all a little bit different, but when you walk down a walkway that has a lot of lupin in it, oh my gosh, it's awesome. It's such a sweet treat. So again, fragrance gardens, cut gardens, very good for pollinators, early pollinators, fairly good as far as deer and bunny resistance are concerned. Has a lot to do with how dense the foliage is, how fuzzy it is, usually on the underside. But again, the fragrance does distract from damage, so that's really good. But lots to choose from. And I mentioned the Staircase series earlier. Staircase are also a compact variety. So they grow around 2 foot tall, multiple blooms. Again, as you can tell, I have yellow and red here, but lots of different colors. And this one in particular, it's really interesting when you read more about Staircase. It says it will continue to bloom until the evening temperatures in the summer get to 72 degrees or above, and then it will stop. So just keep that in mind. Now, in general, these plants are short-lived perennials. So we always talk about perennials are 3 years in the garden or more. So these are going to be on the shorter side, or they're biennials, okay? The Russel Hybrids in this area tend to be biennial types. So you want to make sure that you leave at least one stalk that'll go to seed, and then have the seed drop around the base of the plant. We'll also plant seeds in the spring. We will also plant seeds in the early fall as well in the perennial garden to get more coming and growing. I do want to tell you, you want to soak the seeds about 24 hours before you plant them, because you want to soften that seed coat for them as well. Staircase are a biennial as well. Just keep that in mind. The Westcountry tend to do better. Again, producing in the garden 3 years or more. Granted, just remember you want to pay attention to the cooler areas, keeping your soil cool and moist, and taking care of them throughout the growing season. And don't forget to cut and deadhead them. Enjoy.